Good afternoon. This is going to be our Breakout 5 lab on header files. I'm going to do this both in Windows and Linux CLion for this lab, so you'll see both environments in this one video. It should be pretty short. I'm going to jump right in. I'm going to start with creating a new project. We're going to modify our base template, so I'm going to start with the template. I'm going to create a new project using the template. I'll go ahead and call this one Breakout 5 because we're going to put changes from 4 into it. It's in I want it to be in my documents repos and keep it in the same solution. So I'm starting with the Visual Studio side. Okay, and I'm not seeing, let me open the Solution Explorer and just make sure I've got all my files. Alright, so I'm going to open up our breakout, and we're going to start right now by adding a new header file to our project. So in Visual Studio, I'm going to right click on the header files, and I'm going to do add a new item. And I'm going to select a header file, and I'm just going to, this is going to be the main application file. So I'm going to use the same name as our existing breakout. So this will be breakout.h, and it should be in the same path as our current project. All right, and then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to select the file header comment block from our breakout CPP file, and I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to remove the pragma once command, and then this is going to be our main configuration header for a 2D breakout game. All right. And then we need our header guard. So I'm going to go ahead and insert the header guard into this. So this will be, we need to do an if not defined, if the preprocessor has not seen this before. And so this will be breakout h. And then we need to just update this template also to change the file name. So if the preprocessor has not seen a define for breakout h, then we want it to define breakout h. And then we'll have an end if for breakout h. And remember, I do this as a comment because the end if doesn't have a label, but I want to know for sure that that end if belongs to this if not defined. Okay, so that sets up our header guard, so that will ensure that the content in between here is only ever included by the preprocessor once. All right, so now what do we want in here? Well, coming back here, for the most part right now, we just want these global constants. So I'm going to cut these. I'm going to do a Control X, and I'm going to put them in here. All right. Okay, now notice this doesn't recognize string in this namespace, whereas the C++ file did. We didn't have an include string here, but it's because of the handling, the default handling of libraries for the source code that it would have gotten it probably through IOStream, would have included string.h. So since we don't have it here, we need to include that. And it's just string, it's not string.h for this library. There is a string.h, but we want to include the string library. All right now we're doing that for window title. Okay, and then if we come back here, Notice we include the fgcugl.h file and IO stream. We only need includes if we're actually using something from them. And as of right now, we only have a constant, we have 2 integers and a string. We have nothing directly referencing the fgcugl or IO stream. We're not doing any output here. All right, nothing else right now needs to change as far as our template goes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and re-export this now as the new template. So I have the new header file as part of the template, and I've updated the window width and height to what we've been doing in the last couple of labs, and I've included that now in our main implementation file. All right. So let's just build and make sure that our solution is working before we actually execute it. All right, so the build succeeded. I'm going to run. I should just get a blank window. All right, there's the terminal window in Visual Studio, and there's the blank breakout window. So I'm going to go ahead and terminate this. And then I'm going to export this. Under project, I'm going to export a template. I'm going to export a project template using breakout 5. So an item template would just be one of the files, but I want the whole project. And then I want to name the template breakout. And this is for our 2D breakout labs. Breakout game labs. I want it to be in my exported. It's going to overwrite the old one, which is what I want. See, would you like to delete the files to continue? Sure, delete them and continue. All right, and there it is. It's been re-exported. All right, and I'm going to close this solution just to test to make sure I'm still getting close solution. And I'm just going to do this as a quick test. You don't have to do it, but I'm going to do a create new project. I'm going to select the breakout, and I'll just call this breakout test. And in my document repos, and I'm going to do create. All right, and it's open. Same source files. When I look at my header, now I have the new header file. And if I look in breakout, I've got the include for the new header file. So that's all good. Okay, so standby will be updating what's in the library. I just want to do this same piece in CLion. All right, to carry on with our exercise here for Breakout Lab 5, I'm now in CLion on, in this case, on a Linux environment. To get the new template set up with the header file, I'm going to start a new project here in CLion, and I will call it Breakout 5. It's a C++ executable. All right, and then like I normally would do, I'm going to go ahead and rename this. We're at their rename file, and I want to make that breakout.cpp. All right, and then I'm going to come into the CMake, and I'm going to go back out to the file system, and in my repos I keep my template for breakout and my CMake list template. So I'm going to go ahead and open that with a text editor so I can copy. I just do Control A, Control C to copy everything, and I can close that. And back here I can now, on the breakout, I can replace all of this. And then in my CMake list, I go back out and I'm going to open that template in a text editor and then Control A and Control C. I'm going to close that. And then I'm going to come here to CMake and I'm going to just replace the add executable and paste. I'm going to save that and then I'm going to run reload changes. All right, and now when I come back over here and I start expanding, notice we have the breakout source code here. We see the FGCU. If we expand the external libraries, we'll find the fgcugl library root, and that's how it's referencing the fgcugl header file. All right, so what we want to do now is we want to add a new header file to this project. I collapsed that. Okay, we want to add a new header file. It's the same thing we did in Visual Studio. So once again, solution and project, just like Visual Studio. So I want to add to the project. I'm going to right click that and do a new, and I can just pick a C++ header file. And I'm going to name it breakout.h. Okay, and it's asking, do I want to add it to targets in the CMake file? And so that it's showing us where it's going to add it. It's going to add it in the source files list. So I'm going to say OK. All right, and notice, look, it even gave us a suggested header guard, which is what we were doing. So I'm going to come back over here and just make sure. Notice it put it here. It added it right next to breakout.cpp. So it's already added it in our template. What we need to do is copy this now. And we could just copy this one line if we want, because we want to make sure we get that in our template. So I'm going to come back out here and I'm going to open this with a text editor. And we're just updating this one line. So if I just highlight that, I can hit paste, and now I have that line saved with the new breakout header file added to it. So I'm going to save that. All right, now I can come back in here and I want to take a copy of my file header comment block, and in breakout.h, I'm going to replace this with that. And then once again, this is the main application header file. All right, and then I'm going to make this simpler and just call this breakout.h. It just stuck the project name in front of it, and I don't really need that. And then same thing. Notice it even gave me the ending comment block. So you can kind of see how some of this stuff is standard. All right, so I'm going to save that. And then just like in Visual Studio, I'm going to copy these global constants. I'm actually going to cut them. And I'm going to come back here and paste them inside the header guard. And then I'm going to include string. And this is for the window title. And then back here now, I need to include breakout.header file. Notice it sees it. As soon as we do the double quotes, it knows to look in the local directory, main app header file. All right, now I can do a build. All right, everything built, and now I can do a run it just to make sure I get my blank window, and I do. All right, so I'm going to hit close here. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, I need to save these because unlike Visual Studio, I don't have that template that I can just load. So I need to save a copy of this file. So I can do it real easily here. If I just come out and go into breakout 5 and I grab these two files, I can do a copy, and then I can come back out here to repos, and I'm just going to paste them. It's my template. And then I'm actually going to remove this underscore temp.txt. And so now I know I've got CMakeList, which I updated, and now I have these two as my template. So these three files make up my template in Linux. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and come back, and notice we had all of our changes in there, so that was good. So now I'm going to go back to Visual Studio just to finish up this time. So I'm going to stop here, but you would be able to carry forward. We're just going to take what we worked on in Lab 4 and add it here into Lab 5 with our new header file. All right, so back over here in Windows, I'm going to reopen my breakout 5 and just finish that up. So this has the new template. This is where we built the template, so I have the header file here. Okay, so we are going to open up our source code for Lab 4. So I'm going to come in here to my documents, repos, and this will be the same if you're in Windows or Visual Studio. So I'm going to go into my breakout 4 and find the CPP file, and I'm going to edit that in a text editor. And then nothing up here changed. I need these variables, and these are just temporary. They don't need to be part of our main template. So I'm going to copy those, and I'm going to come back over to Visual Studio, and I'm going to paste those in here. And then I'm going to come back over to the editor, and I need the keyboard handling down through the drawing of the quad. And notice you still have to, you'll just be able to copy in what you did to finish up Lab 4. So I'm going to come back over here to Visual Studio and just prior to the Windows Paint, because we need to do all of our drawing before the Windows painting. So just so you guys understand, the way our painting is working is we're doing something called double buffering. And what that means is we currently have a buffer that's being repainted on the screen that we've sent to our graphics device, our GPU. And so it's pointing at one memory address with a buffer that we've already drawn everything to. Every draw that we do right now is being drawn into a new buffer or a new area of memory, and we're editing it. We actually, the window paint clears that buffer before we come through this next loop. So every draw is new stuff being drawn into that. As soon as we call window paint, we tell the GPU to stop looking at the last buffer and start looking at the new buffer for drawing, and then we have a new buffer for writing to again. So, all right, just a little bit. We'll talk more about that as we go. Everything else in here should stay the same. You shouldn't have to change anything. All we've really done in this lab is move some stuff to the header. Let me save and build. And this is just going to allow us to start putting a lot more information in there. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to illustrate one of them. Okay, so let me just make sure everything's working, and then I'll add one new piece to it. So, okay, so I can move, and if I toggle with an X, I can size. Okay. Stop that debugger. And here's what we're going to do is we are going to want to have a standard block width and height. And so I'm going to move those. I'm going to copy this. And over here in the header, well, no, because we'll want that to become part of our template. So I'm going to save that for the next lab. So that's going to end Lab 5. So all we did was take Lab 4 and add our new header file and create a template for it. All right.